people who look the calmest in a room are often the ones getting drained the fastest, not because they hate people, because while everyone else is just talking, something in them is scanning everything: the mood, the tension, the pauses, the fake laugh, the thing no one says, but everyone feels. So when plans get canceled, you do not feel disappointed. You feel relief. And that relief can be so instant, so physical, that it almost unsettles you. Because part of you wonders, why does being with people sometimes feel heavier than being alone with your own mind for hours? Why does solitude feel like peace when other people experience it as emptiness? And why have you always felt slightly out of step with the way other people seem to move through the world? That is what this is really about. Because the psychology of people who love being alone is not just about solitude, it is about a mind that has been processing life differently all along. You walk into a room and start reading it before anyone says a word. The tension between two people, the smile that does not reach the eyes, the conversation everyone is avoiding. You notice who is performing, who is comfortable, who is trying too hard, who is hiding something behind politeness. Some people enter a room and simply exist in it. You enter a room and absorb it. And that comes with a cost. Because by the time the interaction ends, you are not just tired from talking, you are tired from processing. So after a while, something shifts. You are still there physically, still nodding, still listening, still saying the right thing at the right time. But inwardly, your attention starts pulling away. You stop trying to keep up with the pace. You stop forcing yourself into conversations that feel shallow or performative. And eventually, you start wanting to leave. Not because you hate people, but because your mind is full. Because what feels casual to other people can feel heavy to you long before anyone else notices. That is why canceling plans feels the way it does. It is not always about avoiding someone. It is about releasing something. The moment expectations disappear, your body softens. Your thoughts slow down. You do not have to manage anything. You do not have to respond. You do not have to stay switched on. And for a moment, you can finally return to yourself. That is the part people misunderstand. They think the relief means you do not care. But sometimes the relief simply means you are carrying more than anyone could see. From the outside, it looks like distance, like disinterest, like detachment, like you do not care enough to show up fully. But that is not what is happening. You are not avoiding connection. You are protecting your capacity for it. Because for you, connection is not light. It is deep, attentive, layered, real. And real presence costs energy, especially when your mind does not just hear words, but tracks everything around them too. So what other people call being quiet is often just you trying not to overload. You do not just hear what people say, you process everything around it: tone, timing, facial expression, the sentence they almost said, then changed, the emotional meaning underneath the actual words. You notice patterns quickly, you think ahead, you connect things that other people leave separate. So when you are around others, you are not just in the conversation, you are inside it and slightly above it at the same time, observing, interpreting, comparing, predicting. That is why it becomes exhausting, not because you are weak, because your mind is doing more work than it appears to be doing. Being alone feels different. There is no pressure to respond, no hidden emotional math, no need to read between the lines, no constant input pressing against your attention. Your thoughts settle, your body exhales, your system resets. That is why a quiet evening alone can feel more satisfying than a crowded room full of people you even like. Not because you prefer emptiness, but because your mind finally has space. Space to think clearly, space to feel honestly, space to exist without managing the weight of other people's presence at the same time. But there is another side to this. A question that comes back quietly when the room is finally silent. Is this peace or is this avoidance? Do you genuinely prefer being alone? Or did being around people simply become too expensive for your nervous system over time? That question matters, because solitude can be healthy, grounding, restorative, honest. But sometimes it also becomes a shelter you stop questioning because it works too well. And from the inside, those two versions can feel almost identical, because there is a difference between choosing solitude and retreating into it. One restores you, the other protects you from something you have not fully named. One leaves you clearer, the other leaves you cut off without admitting that is what happened. And from the outside, they look exactly the same. A quiet person, a closed door, a peaceful evening, a life with less noise. But inside, the difference is enormous. One is freedom, the other is armor. And knowing which one you are living in requires a kind of honesty most people never bring to their own patterns. There is nothing wrong with needing space, nothing wrong with feeling deeply, noticing more, processing more. You are not too much. You are just taking in more than most people realize. But the deeper truth is this: people who love being alone are rarely just people who love silence. They are often people whose minds move in ways the world does not immediately understand. And that is why solitude feels so natural to you. Not only because it protects you, but because it gives your mind the kind of space it has always needed to think the way it thinks. So maybe the real question is not just why you love being alone. Maybe the real question is, why have you always seemed to think differently from other people in the first place? Why do you notice what they miss, feel what they brush past, and reach conclusions they do not arrive at until much later? Because once you understand that, a lot more than your solitude starts to make sense. And that is what we need to look at next.